What if the real difference between a Rockefeller and a modern tech billionaire isn't the money? It's not the private jets we see on Instagram or the sprawling mansions featured in magazines. That's just the surface noise. The real power, the true dividing line, is a secret, an unspoken code, a silent language that dictates not just how you spend your money, but how you walk, how you talk, and even how you think. My name is Beatrice, and if you're here, I suspect you're a bit like me. You're fascinated by the stories behind the wealth. You're looking for the substance beneath the style. That's why I started this space, to find those hidden narratives together. And today, we are going to decode the 5 fundamental rules that truly separate old money from new money. We'll move past the obvious and into the heart of their culture, their values, and their deepest beliefs. And we'll also explore why one of the most famous families on the planet consistently gets this code so spectacularly wrong. But before we get to that famous family, we must begin with the first and most fundamental rule of the code, the source. Old money is, by definition, inherited. It's wealth that has seasoned over generations, passed down through quiet trusts and sprawling family estates. Think of the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers. They aren't just rich, they are custodians of a legacy. The money was made long ago, and their primary role is to preserve it. New money, in contrast, is earned. It's the explosive, first-generation wealth of entrepreneurs and innovators who built their fortunes from scratch. Think of Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. Their wealth is a testament to their ambition and ingenuity, a story written within their own lifetime. But here's where it gets interesting. This line isn't set in stone, it's permeable. Consider the Vanderbilts. In the late 19th century, their railroad fortune was seen as brash, vulgar new money by New York's old guard, led by the formidable Caroline Astor. What followed was not just spending, but a calculated, multi-generational campaign for acceptance. It climaxed when Alva Vanderbilt threw a legendary costume ball, so lavish, so unmissable, that Mrs. Astor herself had to essentially beg for an invitation, publicly surrendering to their influence. They had strategically forced their way in. Similarly, the Kennedys ascended from controversial bootlegging origins to become America's political royalty through strategic marriages and immense ambition. This difference in origin, being born a custodian versus becoming an architect, fundamentally shapes a family's entire worldview. And that brings us to the second, and arguably most important distinction, their code of conduct. This code isn't a rule book you can find in a library. It's a silent language of values, spoken through actions, and more importantly, through restraint. For many with new money, wealth is a statement, a validation. It's meant to be seen, heard, and felt. The prime example is the Trump family. Their aesthetic is a performance of success, played on a global stage. The gleam of gold on every possible surface, the bold, unfiltered pronouncements, and the embrace of media as a family enterprise. It's loud, it's brash, and it demands attention. But wait, it's easy to dismiss this as just being tacky or gaudy, but you'd be missing the entire point.
This obsession with privacy isn't about good taste. It's a centuries-old survival mechanism, a form of power so subtle it's invisible to most. If you don't grasp this one principle, you will never understand the true foundation of generational wealth. This discretion is a tactical shield. It protects the family from frivolous lawsuits that hunt the scent of deep pockets. It draws a curtain against the burning eye of public envy, and it helps filter out the fortune hunters from the true allies. In a world where everyone is shouting to be seen, the greatest power is the mystique of being unseen. Old money understands that what you don't show can't be taken from you. So the rule seems simple. New money shows off, old money stays quiet. But what about one of the richest self-made men on earth who still lives in a house he bought in 1958 for $31,000? He shatters the stereotype, and in doing so, reveals the third, and maybe the most profound, distinction: their entire attitude to what money is even for. And this is where we move from behavior to philosophy, from the outward display to the internal operating system. There's an analogy I love for this. For old money, wealth is like the foundation of a historic house. It's critically important, it holds everything up, but it's underground, and you simply don't talk about it. For much of new money, wealth is the grand chandelier in the foyer. It's the very first thing you want people to see, a dazzling symbol of arrival. This isn't a new idea. Old money has always viewed wealth as a tool, and more than that, a responsibility. It's a resource to be quietly managed, preserved for future generations, and used to maintain social standing. Think of John D. Rockefeller, one of the wealthiest men in history, who was famous for his simple, off-the-rack suits, avoiding any hint of flashiness. Which brings us back to Warren Buffett, a self-made billionaire who completely embodies the old money mindset. He still lives in the same modest home in Omaha he bought in 1958. He famously drives a practical, unremarkable car. Now, the cynical part of your brain might be whispering, "This is just a PR stunt." It's an easy thought to have, but that's seeing the move, not the chessboard. This isn't about being cheap. It's a public declaration of philosophy. It's the physical manifestation of the difference between viewing wealth as a trophy to be polished versus a tool to be wielded. And that mindset changes everything, leading him to pledge over 99% of his fortune to philanthropy. It's a fascinating contrast in philosophy.
So, you've got the origin story and the mindset, but money and philosophy alone still won't get you a seat at the table. To do that, you need the keys to the kingdom, the password to the most exclusive club on earth, the Bloodline Network. And that's a world built not on business cards, but on last names. And what does that world look like? It's not a list of contacts you build, it's a tapestry you're born into. This is the fourth great divide, the social blueprint. For old money, the Bloodline Network is an invisible architecture of trust built over centuries. It's reinforced in the hushed halls of the same Ivy League universities, at exclusive country clubs where deals are sealed with a quiet handshake, and at debutante balls that are less a party and more a formal presentation of the next generation. Your network isn't who you know, it's who you are. For families like the Astors or the DuPonts, their circle was an inheritance, as real as their trusts and estates. New money networks, by contrast, are forged in the fire of ambition. Think of the frenetic energy of Silicon Valley or the high-stakes trading floors of Wall Street. These circles are fluid, meritocratic, and built on the promise of the next big thing. It's a constantly shifting constellation of partners, investors, and rivals. And this is why new money so often finds the gates to the old world locked. They can fund a museum wing or host the most lavish charity gala. But to the old guard, it can sometimes feel like hearing someone speak their native language with a foreign accent. You can learn the words, but you can't fake the history. But these exclusive networks don't exist in a vacuum. They are anchored to the ground. The codes, the mindset, the handshakes, they all bleed into the very soil and bricks of where these tribes choose to plant their flag. This brings us to the final distinction, the very geography of wealth. If you don't understand their map, you'll never find their kingdom. And that map, That kingdom has very real physical borders. Old money congregates. You'll find its heartlands in the quiet, historic corners of America's Northeast, the Hudson Valley in New York, the leafy towns of Connecticut. Their homes are not just houses, they are generational anchors. Imagine the quiet dignity of a centuries-old estate, the faint scent of waxed wood and old leather, where every single portrait on the wall tells a story. Here, pride isn't in the newness, but in the stewardship, in meticulously preserving a piece of history. But stop for a second. This isn't a travelogue. A Gilded Age mansion in Newport isn't just a house, it's a 150-year-old declaration of dominance frozen in stone. Where they live is the final physical signature of their entire philosophy. Contrast this with the geography of new money. It flows towards the epicenters of disruption and global finance, Silicon Valley, Miami, Dubai, and their homes reflect this. Picture a glass-walled mansion perched over a city where the entire space is controlled by a quiet tap on a screen. A minimalist aesthetic, an infinity pool that seems to drop right into the skyline. It's designed not to preserve the past, but to command the future, to impress, to announce one's arrival on the world stage. This final difference, then, isn't about real estate. It's a physical manifestation of those core values we've been exploring: tradition versus innovation, history versus the horizon. So, we've dissected the source, the code, the mindset, the network, and now the map. 5 pieces of a very complex puzzle. But what is the final picture they create when you put them all together? The answer reveals the one true chasm between these two worlds, and it has almost nothing to do with what's in their wallet. That chasm, that final picture, is culture. It's the quiet belief system that dictates everything that follows. The source of your wealth, inherited or earned, shapes a silent code of conduct, one of quiet discretion versus loud declamation. This in turn forges a mindset where money is seen either as a tool for generational stewardship or as a trophy of personal victory. From there, 2 entirely separate social worlds are born, one built on lineage, the other on achievement. And finally, all of this is written onto the very land itself, anchoring families to either a historical haven or a futuristic frontier. So you see, the Great Divide was never really about the money. It's about culture. It's about whether you see yourself as a quiet custodian of the past or a visible architect of the future. I'm genuinely curious to know which of these worlds resonates more with you and why. Please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I truly enjoy reading them. And if you, like me, are fascinated by these hidden stories that shape our world, the source of your wealth, inherited or earned, shapes a silent code of conduct, one of quiet discretion versus loud declaration. This in turn forges a mindset where money is seen either as a tool for generational stewardship or as a trophy of personal victory. From there, 2 entirely separate social worlds are born, one built on lineage, the other on achievement. And finally, all of this is written onto the very land itself, anchoring families to either a historical haven or a futuristic frontier. So you see, the Great Divide was never really about the money. It's about culture. It's about whether you see yourself as a quiet custodian of the past or a visible architect of the future. I'm genuinely curious to know which of these worlds resonates more with you and why. Please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I truly enjoy reading them. I would be so honored if you would subscribe and join our community here. Thank you for spending your time with me today.